Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to Let's Have Renaissance, a podcast about writing, editing, publishing, literature, the arts, and more. I am Ito Otini.
And I'm Micaiah Otini, and today we're speaking with Brendan Isaac Jones. Brendan is an author, father, husband, Fulbright scholar, and MacDowell Fellow. His first novel was published by Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, his second by Penguin Random House, and he's now at work on a memoir about his Fulbright year in Siberia. We're excited to be with him today.
Thank you for tuning in. We're excited that you're here. Why don't you also subscribe, like, comment, and share this episode with your friends?
And if you know anyone who wants to come on the podcast, please do send them our way. Also, if you haven't yet, sign up for our free newsletter where we share updates, resources, and opportunities. To support the podcast, you can make a one-time donation through our website or purchase a subscription to our blog where you'll find more premium content and resources at thedatekeepers.com. Thank you for being a part of our community.
Brendan, thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to have you. Can you please tell us about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm here in Sitka, Alaska. Grew up in Philadelphia, born in Colorado, and came to Alaska at 19. And I'm a writer here, and I live with my family. We do a lot of subsistence hunting and fishing, and girls are homeschooled and wrestlers, and I have a couple books out. And also do a lot of carpentry. I was a contractor for a bit, and a union carpenter, so I'm still doing a bit of that as well.
And how did you end up there?
To make money for college, I was at Columbia University in New York City, and I took a Greyhound West and ended up in Sitka and fell in love with it. I spent a year here working in a hatchery and commercial fishing, and then working in a newspaper. And then, actually kind of a crazy, funny story, I was living here and I was teaching salsa because in Alaska, you don't have to be very good at anything to teach it or do it. But I was teaching it, and I met a girl from South Jersey, and a Sicilian from South Jersey. And we grew up about 15 minutes apart from each other, but she was in my salsa class, and 3 children later, here we are.
And can you tell us about your books?
Yeah, so I have my first book, The Alaskan Laundry. It was a Houghton Mifflin book, won a few awards, and it's actually in the process of being made into a movie with kind of an indie movie producer. So I've been working on the screenplay for that. So it's funny, I've been kind of like jumping back into that book. A lot of parts of it I hadn't remembered, and working with a screenwriter to finish the screenplay. And then my other book is a book with Random House, Penguin Random House. It's a YA book, both about Alaska. That one's called Whispering Alaska. That won the Green Earth Book Award, and it's been a lot of fun just to teach around the country in schools and kind of give people a sense of what life in Southeast Alaska is like.
And what has that process of adaptation been like?
Oh gosh, it's a doozy because, and of course with film, everything is conveyed with gestures and expressions, and it's really an exercise in cutting and kind of letting go. All these little plots that were included in the book on the page have to be cut, and it really has to be diluted until you just have this very simple spine of the movie. But I think it's a really timely message. It's a young woman from South Philly who comes and commercial fishes in Alaska and kicks butt. She's a boxer named Tara Marconi, and it's a really timely movie. We're trying to shoot it here on location, and I've got a great screenwriter working with me in New York City. And yeah, we're excited to shoot it.
And can you talk about your publishing journey? What challenges did you face?
Yeah, it's never a straight path. You're always kind of like ping-ponging between different failures and opportunities, right? But I got really lucky with a good agent early on who believed in the book, who kind of gets what I'm trying to do here in Alaska. That's hard, right? Because it's not like you're in New York City and surrounded by folks in the industry. So you kind of have to make it up a little bit.
Do you have a community over there, or you're just relying on the online world?
Yeah, there's a really good group of Alaska writers. It's a huge state, but everybody kind of knows each other. I love this distinction that the Nobel Prize winner Seamus Heaney, the poet, made between provincial and parochial. Provincial is when people are really inward looking in a small community, and parochial is when people comes from parish. They really use that small community as a jumping off point. It's kind of like a hub for a bunch of different explorations and adventures. And I think there's real power in a small community, so long as you get out into the world and don't get too installed into the mindset of a smaller place. I think smaller communities can be a really powerful place to depart from for an artistic journey. If you're parochial, then you're constantly updating these cultural ideas, engaging with other people, engaging with other cultures. So it's a fluid thing. One of the things I do love about Alaska, because we're a third Tlingit here in Sitka. You're forced to constantly update your ideas about other cultures just because you have to. It's part of the lifestyle. You have to engage in it every day. And that really stops people from becoming set in their ways, kind of calcified.
Are you working on any other novels or any fiction projects? What else do you have on the burner?
Yeah, the big one that we're just about to go out to publishing houses with is a book called A Good Dog in a Cold Place. And it's a memoir. It's nonfiction about a Fulbright that I did with the State Department in Siberia. And took the whole family over there, and we spent a year in Siberia. I was researching the Russian-American company and just the trials and tribulations over there. And we ended up returning, and then the war started and had to come back. And I continued to teach for the university there for a little bit. But just our engagement with Siberians in Russia and the surveillance state over there. So it's kind of like, it's humorous, but it's also a travel memoir. It's a little bit coming of age, like me becoming a father. And then we had a great dog named Colorado who died when we were over there. And so it's also like a dog book for the dog lovers out there.
Did you get sick when you were on the Fulbright?
I did not get super sick over there. I'm trying to think. I don't think the kids did either. Siberians, they have all these crazy teas and plant medicines that as soon as you get sick, they just drown you in tea.
Oh, good. That's
Yeah.
really good. I came from Morocco here on a Fulbright, and oh boy, I ended up at the emergency room at 3 a.m. and then a cancer hospital at 3 a.m. But yeah, I met a lot of Fulbrighters who get really sick when they go to some countries.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've gotten very sick in India.
When you were in Siberia, did you notice any parallels with Alaskan culture? Because I think in like the imagination of the world, like Alaska and Siberia have in common remoteness and cold and the degree of cultural colonization that has led to like palimpsests of cultures. And did that actually translate into any similarities on the ground? Or was it like, oh, no, I'm in a completely foreign, different place and there's just as much a culture shock as there is whenever you travel abroad?
Yeah. Like you mentioned, there's the indigenous people there. Siberia, it was the Northern Mongolians or the Buryat. And then in Alaska, it's Tlingit and Inuit and Yupik. So there's certainly that aspect. But the other one, the big one for me, was just the engagement with the wild, the natural landscape. Everybody thinks the Russians are great planners. They're thinking like 20 chess moves in advance. Like the opposite is true. They are the world improvisers, as far as I can tell.
Wait, who
Do
thinks
not
Russians
plan.
are great planners?
Oh gosh, like the Hunt for Red October, the Russians don't go to the bathroom without a plan. Like like this whole idea that they're great chess masters, looking all these moves ahead, always thinking, always ahead of you, diplomatic.
That's funny. I feel like those people have not read a lot of actual Russian history
Right?
or
Yes.
Russian literature even.
Or just meta Russian, how about?
Right.
It's all by the seat of their pants, which I love. And it's very, very similar to Alaska. Because you have to be, because you're constantly adapting to the weather and the landscape, and subsistence lifestyle is a big thing. So that was the biggest parallel that I really enjoyed, getting out on Lake Baikal, which is 20% of the world's freshwater, world's deepest lake. It's just an amazing body of water. So yeah, I would say that was the biggest parallel between Alaska and of course, everybody in Russia thinks that Alaska is still part of Russia. They very much relate to Alaskans, and we would say that we're from Alaska, not the United States, and people love that.
Speaking of, we always ask our guests to read. Do you have an excerpt from one of your books or an essay?
Yeah, this is just the beginning of A Good Dog in a Cold Place. Author's note: I kept journals during our year in Siberia, though journal makes it sound more organized than reality. Mostly notes scrawled on the backs of receipts, voice memos recorded while hiding in the bathroom from my children, and increasingly panicked texts when the borders began to shut down. I supplemented these with Rachel's far more reliable memory, along with recollections of friends and acquaintances who were kind enough to fact-check my memory. Messages and emails appear exactly as written. Dialogue isn't verbatim, but it's as close as memory and my notes allow. Names have been changed only when requested or when using real names might complicate someone's life. No characters have been invented or merged, no scenes imagined or embellished for narrative convenience. Everything happened, even the parts that sound made up. And I'll just read the beginning of chapter 1. It starts, as airport fiascos so often do, with visions of victory. Our objective? Transport 7 suitcases, 2 duffels, 2 children ages 1 and 3, 1 14-year-old husky mix rescue dog, and ourselves from the remote Alaskan island where we live to our new home in Irkutsk, Siberia, courtesy of the United States State Department. After 8 years working as a contractor and novelist, I'll start research on the Russian-American company. Rachel will leave her magistrate post on our island, which had become untenable after a cartel shooting 6 months earlier. My wife had wanted to go west, cross the Pacific from Seattle, land in Seoul, but our families insisted on a last visit before we disappeared behind what my mother-in-law kept calling the Iron Curtain. So we agreed to stop in Philly and South Jersey, letting the Jewish and Italian sides gush over the girls. My own grandmother was born in Ukraine, fled the Cossacks as a child. Meanwhile, Rachel's mother, Sicilian, sipped Starbucks through a straw in Ocean City, while the girls played on the boardwalk, glaring at me through her darkened lenses. Putin's a monster, you watch. He'll put you all in the gulag. Just wait if you don't believe me. I didn't mention that 6 months ago, after the shooting, the FBI had told us Rachel might be a target, that we'd have to move out of our house in the middle of the night, that one morning when she arrived late to court, the entire Sitka Police Department showed up at our door, thinking she'd been taken. My mother-in-law didn't know any of this. We kept it quiet, not wanting to worry folks. Putin felt abstract. The cartel had felt real. When I told her we'd been given a special State Department number, monitored 24 hours for quick extraction, should anything go sideways, she set down her cup and considered this, probably envisioning Navy SEALs rappelling from ceilings in winter gear to free us from the gulag stocks. You already live on an island in Alaska, she muttered. I don't know why you need to make it so hard on yourselves. That was valid. Why did we? From a young age, I'd been following Rainier Maria Rilke's imprecation of trust in what is difficult. But maybe difficulty had found us, whether we'd sought it or not. Aside from a few pyrotechnics of red glitter, the flight to Geneva is cake. Colorado slumbers at my feet on his blue wool blanket while the girls draw and play games and watch movies. Rachel calls planes with children a tube of joy, whatever it takes to get to the other side. 12 hours of Peppa the Pig? Have at it. Her approach works. In Moscow, we breeze through border control, taking a moment as we enter the great marble arrival hall at Domodedovo Airport. Rachel and I each holding a hand of a kid as Haley grips Colorado's leash. I look over and smile at my wife. They said we couldn't do it, and yet here we were. Životny, Haley shouts, pointing at the picture of a dog and a cat above us, the first Russian word she learned back in Alaska. She beams, proud, leading Colorado toward what we expect will be a thorough inspection of his papers and body before he's granted admission into the Russian Federation. The lanky man behind the desk with the small dead creature beneath his lip appears to smile at Colorado as we enter, paying no attention to us. He bends to pet Colorado's white and golden and black coat, cooing, flashing gold teeth behind his lush mustache, ignoring my hard-earned paperwork from the United States. He whispers a "no ladna," and without looking up, drops an iron-sized Soviet-era stamp down with the gravity of a 20-year sentence. We all jump. The man beams at me as he hands back the papers, and then he says something, registers that none of us have a clue, and does his best translation. Now you have a Russian dog. And I'll stop there.
That's great.
Thank you. That's great.
Yeah, it goes on the dog was, we had him as a service dog, so we had flown with him in the plane cabin all the way to Moscow, but then we had to get to Siberia, and they refused to have him in the cabin, so I had to go into Moscow and, not knowing any Russian, find a dog crate for him before our flight, and met somebody who took me into Moscow, and we found a dog crate and got there right before the plane took off. And it's kind of like a big fiasco, a funny first introduction to Russia.
Thank you, Brandon. It's nice to connect with you. Always great to connect with fellow Fulbrighters.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's been such a pleasure.
We appreciate you and stay in touch.
Take care.
All right. Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.